Yo, what's going on, everyone? Hope you're having a great day. It's Neff, and today I'm going to be giving you guys the complete Havoc Demon Hunter 10.2 guide. As always with these guides, I provide a couple documents that will give you just about every detail you need to know about Havoc Demon Hunter in the new patch, which are both linked in the description. You can see a little preview of them on the screen here. So if you want to check those out, they're linked in the description. But before we get into the video, I do want to shout out my UI. The UI you see in the video, it's available for my Twitch subs and patrons and Discord premium membership. On Patreon, it's $3. On Discord, it's like $3.99. And you can use like a Prime sub or a regular sub on Twitch and stuff. So yeah, if you're interested in that, links are all in the description. And it's also a great way to show me some support, even if you don't want the UI. So yeah, I'd really appreciate that. My UI has an LVUI version and a Shadow Unit Frames version, and it's also updated for 10.2. All the new 10.2 specs, they're all updated. It comes with stuff for the new raid, it comes with stuff for all the new dungeons, and everything that you need to just hop in the game and start playing. So yeah, if you're interested in any of that, links are in the description. Let's just get into the video now. First, let's just get into the basics of Havoc going into 10.2. First off, we're going to check out the new tier set and what it does. So the 2-set bonus, it makes Blade Dance automatically trigger Throwglaive on your primary target for 100% damage, and each slash of Blade Dance has a 50% chance to Throwglaive again for 35% damage of a regular Throwglaive. So the initial glaive Blade Dance throws will consume a charge of your regular Throwglaive, and Blade Dance does 4 total slashes. Each slash has a chance to throw a glaive. It doesn't matter how many targets you're hitting, it just rolls the flat 50% chance on each slash. So with one Blade Dance, if you high roll, you can throw a total of 5 glaives, which obviously synergizes very well with our Throwglaive talents like Soul Scar, Accelerated Blade, Furious Throws, and now with the new talent Rework, Serrated Glaive. The 2-set bonus going from 0 tier to 2 piece is around an 11% damage increase. The 4-set bonus is a bit lackluster damage wise, but what it does is it makes Throwglaive reduce the remaining cooldown of the hunt by 2 seconds, and the hunch damage over time effect lasts 6 seconds longer. Now obviously it synergizes pretty well with the new build we'll be playing. Obviously we'll be playing around Throwglaive a bit, but the hunt damage isn't very high in single target, but it does become pretty noticeable in AoE. But altogether, the set bonus provides about a 17% damage increase going from 0 tier to 4 piece, and in comparison to the old tier, it's around a 7% damage increase. You can see from the sims on the screen. Now we'll just quickly look at stat priorities. It's mainly the same as this tier. Going into the new patch, obviously getting item level, especially with the big item level jump this tier, is your first priority. Getting as much agility as we can. Primary stat 99% of the time will always be the best stat. And for secondaries, you want to prioritize crit, mastery, and then haste and verse are very close to each other. While playing with the Shattered Destiny build, haste does gain a bit more value, so just keep that in mind. And yeah, these stat priorities, they apply to single target and AoE. Just mainly at the beginning, you just want to focus on getting as much item level as you possibly can, except on stuff like rings and necks where there is no primary stat. Those items you actually want to prioritize the right stats on them, but there is like a certain, I guess, a break point to where how much stat you're getting from the item is better than like the right amount of stats, right? So that is something you definitely want to sim yourself, but these are like the type of items that you'll want to be looking for: crit mastery and then crit haste and stuff like that. Basically anything with crit is a decent option. So the next thing we'll take a look at is embellishments. So there's a couple different options you can use here. What I will be playing week 1 is Spore Cloak and Blue Silken Lining. Currently the highest simming setup is double Blue Silken Lining, but I really don't recommend this because the gain is so minimal compared to using Spore Cloak. And with Spore Cloak you get some verse, a decent heal every 5 seconds, and a big absorb shield whenever you drop below 30% HP. Now early on, the best embellishment setup is Toxic Thorn Foot Wraps with the Toxic Patch by about 1.2% in single target, but in AoE, Spore Cloak and Blue Silken Lining is better. And you can see in the sim here, once we get 4 piece, the same is true. Toxic Boots and Patch is best for single target, but Spore Cloak and Lining is better in AoE. Then once we get Heroic item level in the sim here, we're 483, all 3 gear sets are basically even with each other in single target, but Spore Cloak and Lining again obviously is better in AoE. Then once we get into Mythic item level, Spore Cloak and Lining is our best single target and AoE embellishment setup besides the double Blue Silken Lining, which again, I highly advise you not to play. And one thing to keep in mind, that the Toxic Boots are over simming a little bit, because your Corrupting Rage File will proc the heal from the Toxic Boots, and the new trinket that we want, the Signet brand I think is what it's called. When you take damage from that, it will also proc the Toxic Boot heal. So it is over simming a little bit. So like I said, in single target, like all of these embellishment setups are basically even. So I highly advise you to play Spore Cloak and Blue Silken Lining. All of these sims are done with a 60% uptime on Blue Silken Lining. You might have a lower or a higher uptime just depending on the encounter or how you're playing, but 60% is very, very doable with our talent tree. We gained a lot of survivability with some new stuff like deflecting dance. We still have our leech. We did lose a little bit of leech, like overall healing, but we still do have a decent amount of leech. We gained another walk back. We also have the talent that gives a 5% physical damage reduction. And then we also have the talent that gives 4% verse. I think with how close everything is, and like just even in AoE, like the blue silken lining and spore cloak setup is just better. Like if you plan on not using spore cloak, like I think it's just trolling. Just the value alone you get from spore cloak, and then plus spore cloak will help you keep up that blue silken lining uptime. Because you get a constant heal every 5 seconds. So with everything combined, 60% uptime on the blue silken lining, in my opinion, is very, very doable. And that's what I recommend you use. Next, we'll talk about the talent rework that Havoc received for this new patch. So the talent rework, like all of the reworks, turned out very good. It seems like Blizzard kind of learned how to utilize these new talent trees now, and are doing a very good job with each one they've been doing a decent size update to. So I'm not going to go through each individual talent that was moved or changed around and stuff or added, but we will look at the notable ones. So the big 3 talents that were added to our tree, first is inertia. This is basically momentum on steroids with less uptime, but it gives you way more upfront damage, kind of like momentum used to do. It's activated by using an unbound chaos proc, which is a talent that makes your Fel Rush do more damage after activating Immolation Aura. So obviously you're going to want to use this in your burst windows with stuff like Essence Break and I-Beam and stuff. Next is a Fire Inside. This talent pairs extremely well with Inertia because it gives us 2 charges of Immolation Aura, which both can be used to activate Inertia, and it has a 30% chance to refund a charge of Immolation Aura whenever you activate Immolation Aura. So this talent gives us a big boost in Inertia uptime, and it paired with other talents that affect Immolation Aura, it really makes Immolation Aura like a real button that does a decent amount of damage in single target and a lot in AoE. Third talent we'll look at was added to our tree is Chaotic Disposition. It's basically a passive damage talent that can proc whenever we do chaos damage. This talent paired with any means necessary is very strong, since when using it, any form of magic damage we do is turned into chaos damage. Now for some notable talents that were added or changed. We have Demon Hide. It increases our magic damage by 3% and gives us 5% phys damage reduction, which is what we really struggled with survivability wise. Deflecting Dance, it gives us an absorb for 15% of our max HP while blade dancing. So really strong passive defensive. I guess it's an active, but like a passive at the same time, because we have to use blade dance to actually use it. Nether Walk is now very easy to get, and you'll basically have it at all times. So getting our immunity back is really nice. And you know, grabbing it, we don't lose anything. We basically almost have to take it most of the time. So that's really nice. Fel Barrage was changed to be a buff that depletes 8 fury per tick that lasts a maximum of 8 seconds. So you use it, you get a buff, and you just start shooting off Fel Barrages or volleys, whatever it's called, up to 8 seconds, and then each volley that it shoots out, you lose 8 fury. It's kind of like a small breath from on a Frosty K. And you can probably see from looking at the tree now, Fodder to the Flame is now completely gone from the talent tree, and that's good riddance. You know, I was not a fan of Fodder to the Flame ever since Shadowlands, and yeah, it's a really bad ability. It feels super clunky to play with, super RNG, and it just doesn't. Fodder is just not a good ability in general, so I'm glad that's gone. And now one of the bigger changes, meta is now a 2-minute cooldown. So meta is now baseline 3 minutes, and now with the 2-point talent Rush of Chaos on the class tree, it brings it down to a 2-minute CD. So now we went through the set bonus, the talents, and the changes to the spec. Let's take a look at the builds we'll be playing. So to start off, we'll look at the build we'll be playing before we get the new tier. It's really similar to the current build we're playing, Shattered Destiny, Essence Break, and stuff. I have it on the screen here. It basically just plays the exact same, except the Fury generation is a little bit lower because we lost a couple talents that generate Fury. But then once you get 2-piece, you'll want to swap to one of these builds depending on what you prefer. So the first build, we're just going to call it the Immolation Aura build. This is what it looks like. It is currently summing the highest of all 3. That we'll look at by a small margin. The next build on the screen here, we'll call it the Shattered Destiny build, and it again is really similar to the current build we play on live. It did sim the highest, but it fell behind a bit because of the recent tuning and pushed the Immolation Aura build just ahead. And the last build on the screen here is the No Mover build. It's built around the name, no movement. It sims behind by a decent amount, but not a ton. So if you like these types of builds, you're not completely trolling, but it definitely, you know, isn't optimal to play this if you're trying to min max and stuff. Now let's talk about how to actually play these builds. Shattered Destiny and No Mover builds play really similar to our current build. Basically, you just need to do your Essence Break windows properly. and the rest of the time you're just trying to keep up meta by spending Fury. Your Essence Break windows with these two builds is a bit simpler than the Immolation Aura build, but basically this is how it goes. You Immolation Aura, Fel Rush, I-Beam, Annihilation, Essence Break, and then Vengeful Retreat through the boss so you stay in range. And by through the boss, what I mean is basically you turn your back to the boss and then hit Vengeful Retreat so you're going through the boss instead of away from it. Then you Death Sweep, Meta, Death Sweep, Annihilation, I-Beam, Death Sweep, Annihilation. Now with the No Mover build, you don't need to Vengeful Retreat because you're not using Initiative or Tactical Retreat, so you can just skip that part and Death Sweep right after your Essence Break, then Meta, and Death Sweep again. And just make sure you're using Annihilation after I-Beam and Meta to use those Inner Demon procs. Now, for the Immolation Aura build, your Essence Break windows are a bit more precise because you want them buffed by Inertia, obviously, which only lasts 5 seconds. So if we go based on the Sim APL with Lust, this is what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to Torrent, Sigil of Flame, Immolation Aura, all pre-pull. Then you I-Beam, Burst Global, Fel Rush, Hunt, Vengeful Retreat through the boss and Essence Break, Death Sweep, Meta, and then Death Sweep. So with Lust, both Death Sweeps are pretty easy to land inside the Inertia window, but without Lust, it's almost impossible. So personally, I don't like following this APL, although it is going to do the most damage if you can land it, but it's just barely ahead. So what I like to do to make the opener way easier and more consistent is I Torrent, Sigil of Flame, Immolation Aura, all pre-pull. That's going to be your pre-pull every time. Then you Hunt, first Global, then you I-Beam, Fel Rush, Vengeful Retreat through the boss and Essence Break, Death Sweep, Meta, and then Death Sweep, and then you Immolation Aura, Fel Rush, and then I-Beam. So you get that Inertia window in that next I-Beam. So that's the opener for the Immolation Aura build. Outside of that, all you want to do is line up Inertia windows with Essence Break and I-Beam. And yeah, it's basically it for your single target opener. Now for AoE or Mythic Plus, you're basically playing the same build. All you're doing is dropping Furious Gaze for Ragefire. Now the opener I suggested is what you'll want to be doing in Mythic Plus all the time, even in Lust, because we're losing the haste from Furious Gaze. So this again is why I suggest my opener. Another thing you can do in AoE is you can Immolation Aura, Fel Rush, Immolation Aura again, and then Fel Rush again to stack up that duration of Inertia. But you also want to have Inertia during the end of your Immolation Aura because of Growing Inferno. The more damage your Immolation Aura is doing, the bigger Ragefire you'll have. And overall, it'll just be more damage. I also made a Weakaura to track all of these Immolation Auras and Ragefires that I made public, and you can see it on the screen here. It tracks all of your Immolation Auras, and it shows you how much each Ragefire will do when it explodes, which is linked in the description. If you don't care about seeing the damage numbers, which I don't really care, I just added that on there just in case people want to see it or they like it. But I personally don't care to see the damage numbers. It doesn't really matter. This is what you can do. You just open up the Weakaura, you click on the entire group, then you go to display, and then you scroll down, and you can uncheck or delete the text one. So yeah guys, I think that's it for the video. Again, the Google documents are all linked in the description. Whatever I said, the Immolation or Ragefire Weakaura linked in there. And again, if you're interested in the UI in the video, it's available for my Twitch subs and patrons and Discord premium members. So if you're interested in that, there's links in the description to everything down below. And if you want to check those out, give me a follow on Twitch. I'd really appreciate it. I will be streaming Prog this year. So again, Twitch is linked, and I'll be live, basically 24/7 during the first couple weeks of the new patch dropping is what I plan. So if you want to ask me any questions, I will be there live, and you can just ask me, or you can hop in the Discord and ping me and ask me anything there, and I'll try to get back to you as fast as I can. Yeah, you can also leave your questions in the comments and I'll get to them as fast as I can. And yeah, hope you guys have a good tier. Demon Hunter is looking really fun this tier. It's looking really good numbers wise, and I'm excited to get into the new raid. And yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. But anyways, till next time, peace.